So you'll be hearing more hymns written by members of the church and staff as we continue rolling out some of the work we did this year as a part of our Year of the Creative Spirit. Today in this service, we will bless a group of our church going to Haiti this week. They are on a sort of mission, which I want to talk about. A few thoughts on mission work, personal and global. Firstly, I want to point to Bill McIlvaney. Today, in choosing our reading by him, I identified the issue of Bill being suspended by his bishop in the Methodist Church for conducting same-gender marriages. In short, he was suspended by a system that can't see its way to God's love for all, not some. The lack of vision on the part of the Methodist bishop is not so much my business, but it is our business when it is shared by many people of religion. An unfortunate stumbling block to see what Bill says in the reading is a demanding faith that moves from charity to justice, from friendship to advocacy, and peacefulness to peacemaking. You will hear me repeat that again today. Bill zeroes in on an issue I have heard debated over and over on whether the church, any church, and even this church should be a place of spiritual deepening on one hand or justice making on the other. And of course, my answer has been and will be that it is a place for both, which I think here we balance well. So for the good part of this week, I have been thinking about this because I was at the National Conference for Planned Parenthood on reproductive justice with a few thousand others in Washington, D.C. I was elected as a member of the Clergy Advocacy Board, and I return convert to the mission of Planned Parenthood and others to advocate even more strongly than we have for women. We just have to look at the news or talk to our neighbors to see the unabashed war on women, and especially poor women. And if we drill down through the nature of the legislation that we see in Texas on issues of women's health, we see a wholesale manufacturing of a public health crisis. And so I was radicalized this week by this conference. I was reminded that in Texas alone, 28 clinics that perform abortions will be narrowed to 6 in the coming months. That means a poor woman who wants to end a pregnancy or must end a pregnancy for medical reasons or get health care to her reproductive organs must go a long way. And what will happen is that there will be homemade remedies and unprepared medical procedures. We will see poor women suffer. A manufactured public health crisis. And the issue is not just abortion or low-cost health care. It is one of sovereignty. An African-American congregational minister said this week at the conference that the issue of bodily sovereignty has not been so serious as it has in this country since slavery. So I return this week with all this on the mind, thinking about mission, personal and global. Knowing that people here and beyond have fought these fights for a long time, fought with the spirit of justice making from these pews, and I stand on their shoulders. And the question I return from this week with is, what is the mission of our faith community? What is the mission of our lives? What must we do? Now, admittedly, when I think of the word mission, I think immediately of exploding reel-to-reel tapes and sizzling fuses with the scintillating television of Mission Impossible and so on. I hear mission and I hear, sing it with me, dun, 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 dun. There we go. And when that wears off, I think of African literature I was exposed to in high school by my African American gay male teacher who pointed to the margins of society and history with his literature class when we read Chinua Achebe's work, painting that complex picture of the arrival of Euro-imperialist missionaries who went to Africa to attempt to replace the indigenous religion with Christianity. As a young man, my image of mission work was not favorable. I grew up a Unitarian Universalist. No one in my church went on a mission trip of any kind. We were UU. We didn't go out to convert the unwashed in any way, shape, or form. The idea was anathema to our sensibility of who we were. Now, we did raise money for the poor in Guatemala after earthquakes and large-bellied children in Africa, but we did it in reflection in a distant, benevolent, and sometimes superior way. Even when such acts of generosity planted in our hearts the notion that we must care for others, it buried in us a distant understanding of the people we served. So my notion of mission work as a child, rather undeveloped, rather prejudicial and disinterested. The result was that I went on my own missions without even knowing what I was doing. I went at age 17 to far western rural Kenya to live with my Kenyan friend Nelson in his village. And in between bouts of dysentery, I met with community leaders. I played with children at the YMCA. I drank with the tribal chiefs and lived in a mud hut with his family. But I knew I was not there to spread the good news of my religion. I was there to learn. Looking back and reflecting on those times, I know I cost those people more than they could afford. And my ignorance on that topic was only assuaged by my returning to the United States and collecting samples of medicine for the local physician in the village and soccer uniforms for the soccer team. Miraculously, the boxes I sent back to that faraway land in western Kenya arrived, and one day in the mail in return, a picture showed a happy doctor serving his people with medicine he could never have received. And the local soccer team, dressed in orange and white Dumont, New Jersey high school uniforms. The mission continued through my life, through many journeys and many clumsy attempts to make things better. A sense of superiority of the Western world within, in some cases, change rather than disruption did happen. But all the work I ever did in that mode would happen because of relationships developed here or abroad, and never with a religious overtone. So I looked into our Unitarian Universalist version of mission, and what I saw was we always were asking the question of what is effective in bringing about change toward the goal of peace and equality. Our missions, in recent years especially, have been about service and education and building a capacity to hope, for hope. But it has not always been so clean. To tell the truth, as I look back into our mission work, which some people wonder how Unitarians ever did any mission work, in the 18th and 19th century, missionaries, to my despair, went to places like Japan and India to spread the good news. The Reverend George Perrin in 1890, just years before this church was formed, went to Japan. Now, to his credit, he opened a theological school which trained their students in multi-religious understanding, text, and ritual, learning about Hinduism and Islam and Christianity equally, a noble pursuit in 1890. But in a report back to the United States and the Unitarian Association, he wrote, "The organization of its missions in Japan was the most logical thing the Universalist Church ever did. The motive is the desire to impart the great truths of universalism because men need them. Its aim is to convert men to the Christian life. Its method is to educate native preachers and develop a church." Do you hear the paternalism, the imperialism in that statement? And missionaries in India started earlier in the late 1700s. In fact, a Baptist, Reverend William Adam, went to India and declared the Trinity illogical. He became a Unitarian. And when he returned to the U.S., he said in a statement to the Unitarian Association, "Oh, what a wide door is open for Unitarians here in India, if they would only enter and take possession." These missionaries couldn't help themselves. They were imperialist to the core. The more I learned over the years, the less I liked of our mission work. The point of all this is to ask the question of where we are on the concept of mission. And I think it starts by asking a personal question. A question that each of us here might ask, and that is, where are you on your mission to be a human being and a Unitarian Universalist? It starts with a discernment question about where you are on the mission of your life. Now, all Lent, if you've been paying attention, has been about discernment questions. Aaron spoke first on death and salvation, what matters most when we near the end of life, and last week on what saves you and what you want. He said not fancy cars or more money, but what do you really want? And 2 weeks ago I asked you what tempts you, and today I ask you, what is your mission? And so I came up with a formula. Mission can be 3 questions. What do you want? What do you want to do? And what do you want to be? You can remember that by slurring the 3 words, want, do, be, which is something I said a lot in college. And for those of you who don't understand that, bless you, you pure of heart. I did not inhale, I said. Want, do, be. What do you want for yourself, your family, your community, your country? Aaron covered this last week. Go listen to his sermon. What do you want? And then what do you want to do? This question is a question of accomplishment. What do you want to do to make your life fulfilling? What do you want to get done? Name 1, 2, or 3 things. Don't get overwhelmed. What would you do to save the world? What would you do to make your life better? These are discernment questions to be answered, not just thought about and nodded at. And then what do you want to be? It's not what do you want to be, a doctor, an astronaut, a physicist, first baseman for the New York Mets. Those are questions we asked as children. But what do you want to be for others? What do you want to be known for? What do you want? What do you want to do? And what do you want to be? Another way to look at this is to take a page from the leadership gurus who talk about writing a 1-sentence answer to the question, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And why is it you who are doing it? in this is a clue to mission work. And mission work that comes from a deep place within and a deep desire. As Bill McIlvaney says, an uh-oh to an aha to an oh God, divine love that will not let us go, asks us for a mission. He said it means learning to love people we never dreamed of even caring about, hoping to make life better for others, understanding oneself at a deeper level, embracing a life of spiritual practice. In his own way, he is saying, what do you want? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? And the answer to those questions is the divine. So today we bless our missionaries. They go to Haiti not to teach, but to learn, not to transform the society, but to serve. They join the Papaya peasant movement, a partner of the UU Social Justice College, on projects that help former Port-au-Prince residents build new lives in rural Haiti. Every day they will work with these peasants to build new homes, to construct food gardens, to contribute to other sustainability projects, and to witness where suffering is transformed to joy and to life. And they will visit our partner, Hospital Albert Schweitzer, to see how the care to those who need it is spiritual work. Albert Schweitzer, named for that hospital, the Nobel laureate, said, important above all things spiritual and intellectual and philosophical and theological, is the readiness of man to help his fellow man, the task of being a brother and a sister. This came from Schweitzer's theology, his philosophy. He named a reverence for life, in which he said, I am life which wills to live, and I exist in the midst of life which wills to live, and so we must serve. Within the philosophy is a moral imperative, a call to action. That call to build life where there is poverty, to build peace where there is violence and abuse, to build wisdom where there is ignorance. That is the kind of missionary work I think we are worthy of. The group going to Haiti has chosen their mission. They have studied, they have confronted their own prejudice, they have talked about what they might find. They go open-hearted. They go as our representatives. They go to see what people they will meet and what they will find there. And they know also that sometimes missions arrive at our doors, the divine intervening in a way that makes us say, uh-oh, aha, oh God. So one last story of just that. I met Cecile Richards many times this past week. I actually told her she should join our church. She grew up actually as a child here. She told the gathering this week of a 9-year-old boy who last summer heard about Wendy Davis's filibuster to stop one of those ideological bills intervening between a doctor and her patient. So the boy started tweeting every piece of the filibuster and went on to document the whole entire thing. When it was all over, this 9-year-old boy with his Twitter feed, making little statements on a phone, said, I thought this summer was going to be filled with water parks and camp. Instead, I'm helping save the world by supporting women in Texas. Uh-oh. Oh God. The mission appeared. And apparently this boy got so filled with the mission that he decided to run for third grade president at his school. And he won. After which he wrote to Wendy Davis and said, "If I can do it, you can do it." Missions abound. And it means that we listen to our hearts and we reflect on what our lives are for. What do we want? What do we want to do, and who do we want to be? Let us now bless our Haiti group. Will they come forward? And will you join me in blessing them? We know some of the group is teaching and elsewhere. There are 14 members of our community, including Reverend White, who will go to Haiti. And I ask you to bless them now. Will you rise if you are able? And in response to the blessing, your part is, we bless you on your journey. Friends, in your coming and in your going, we bless you on your journey. In service to the greater good and all forms of learning you will do on our behalf, we bless you on your journey. In your growing spirit of being a guest and generous embrace of the people you will meet, we bless you on your journey. For safety and for peace, we bless you on your journey. For all this and the holiness which circles you about as you embark on this mission, we bless you on this journey. And will the people say, Amen? Amen. Go in peace.